Good day, everybody. It's Greg Schnell, and I am here with the December 31st, 2019 review. The last one of the week, the last one of the decade. Just so much to talk about over the last 10 years about how much things have changed. I think one of the things I want to focus on for 2020 and the new decade is literally just being more flexible with following the short-term trends. I'm not sure if it's me or just because of the computers that are involved in the market, that the trends seem to be faster and quicker, but roll over more often. So one of the goals I have for the upcoming year is to try and stay with those trends a little bit more, but get in earlier and out quicker. And it doesn't mean trade more, but I would just say wait for the right setups and then hit them hard. So today we're going to talk about the one that just set up this week, and it's gold stocks, and they're starting to rock into the new year. Everything looks pretty well. So to find any of my blogs, I'm just going to post this up here. And on gregschnell.com, you'll also find more information. I'm trying to build that out right now as we speak. And then contact information. You can reach me at any one of these. New update at gregschnell.com, on Twitter at SchnellInvestor, or on the website gregschnell.com. So today's agenda, first of all, Happy New Year. And then gold stocks are breaking out, and we want to go through a review of the gold names. So to do that, we're going to jump over into Safari, GDX, there we go. So this is the chart for the gold miners, and for the subscribers, we had been talking about it for 3 or 4 weeks already. What we were looking for was this push back above the 10-week. So you can see all through here, we've been below the 10-week moving average, and 2-3 weeks ago now, we had a push above the 10-week, and that looked really nice and strong. And then 2 weeks ago, it just rolled back over, held around the 10-week, and then took off last week. And this week, continuing to build on those highs. Again, it's not going to be a bullet every week, but it's nice when it is. Anyway, it's continuing to rise up. But we're getting another PPO signal here on the gold miner saying, this is a nice place to buy. And again, you get 3 of these over the last year and a half. Pretty nice signals for us to be aware of. So we want to stay focused on getting our signals. The full stochastic moving above 50 is usually bullish. You can see back here, let me just shrink this chart down. You can see back here in May of 2018, it rolled over without getting up into the 80 area, and that was more concerning. Saw that in here a few times. We want to see this launch right up here, and again, everything is set up for us to break out. I do want to point out one thing that makes me just be aware, because it's not on the silver chart, it's only on the gold miner chart, is that this big uptrend in momentum actually broke, but we are still turning up above 0, which is very bullish in my opinion, and starting to get this lift off here. So we're near the start of the move, and again, this might end up lasting to the end of January, to the end of February. We really don't have a date for it. That's why we monitor the markets every week, is to not try and guess what's happening, but we're starting to see this happen. There's a lot of strong stocks in the gold area. Down here at the bottom, I have the gold chart. Let me just show you something on this. So what we see on the gold chart, see how maybe I can get them both here. But what you can see here is on this particular week, the gold miners shot up, pulled back, then they shot up and held up there. That was very bullish. What we saw on gold is it got up to the 10-week but not through it. The next week, gold held in quite nicely, but we actually saw the gold miners roll down. And then last week they both surged, and this week they're both still surging, and it looks like they're starting to move in tandem again. But in this period in here, this 3 or 4 weeks, it was a little harder to figure out which way they were going to start to move. But I did like the price action in gold, where it pushed up, pulled back, and then pushed up and held. That was nice. A little surprised to see the action in here, where it pulled back, but it still held in around the 10-week, and then took back off to the upside. So quite bullish in general. The indicators here are for gold miners. So let's go look at the indicators for gold, just so you can see that. on the charts. And one of the things I've been pointing out to the subscribers was that we had this really silent volume in May, and then we also had really silent volume here in through the holidays. And one of the points to be made, not so much that we had a holiday week or whatever, but out of the last 5 weeks, look at how quiet the volume has been. And when we look across the charts, typically that low volume has been places where we started rallies from. And so, it just looked to me like we were all set up for this, and now we're starting to move. Last week was the big push out of it, I think, started on just after Christmas, and now continuing to rocket higher. The point I want to make is everything looks set up here to continue. The PPO, I would like to see this cross up, obviously. That would be a little bit more bullish. And we can see that the gold price here, the ETF for gold, has the scooter ranking up in this top area for most of 2019. And if we look back through 2017 and 18, that wasn't how it was. And so this is a new phenomena, and that's a concern, or a positive development that we finally seen, is gold is spending more time being one of the leading areas of the market. The second thing that I would also like to say here is when we see this change in texture from gold. So what happened, it was spending a long time below zero, and now it's spending quite a bit of time well above zero and a lot better waves. So there's a lot better momentum into gold, and I think that's particularly important. I would like to see gold start to outperform the S&P 500, and it hasn't really done that yet. So that would be something that I would like to see more of, is that it actually starts to take off against gold, against the S&P, and if it was to starting to outperform a little bit more, that would be helpful. On this gold miners chart here, I don't have that SPX ratio in here, so let's just go back to the gold chart, change the ticker symbol, and just see how GDX compares to the S&P 500. And what we see here is it broke out to new 52-week highs in 2019, pulled back, and now if it was to start to break out again, we could be up near 3-year highs, and that would be extremely bullish. So I like the fact that the gold miners are outperforming gold. They're behaving better than gold. We're seeing it on almost every perspective for the markets. The other two areas that are interesting is silver, which is SLV. And what we see on SLV here was obviously a big thrust of pullback, and now it started to run up as well, and the scooter ranking is up around 90 for silver, and it's turning up above zero. So I really like how this big long uptrend is continuing. That's just very bullish and a place we want to continue to watch for. When we look at SIL, which is the silver miners, this is even more bullish, and the reason for that is it's actually already broken out to new 52-week highs, even though silver hasn't, and we're up around 2-year highs, going on 3-year highs here. So this is really positive performance here. We're at 33.12, and it's 33.15 was the previous high. Way back here. An intra-week high this week actually broke through it, so we're up at 33.75, so we're at new 2-year highs here. New highs usually beget more new highs, and that's what we'd be watching for. We want to see that continue to break out. So all of the backdrop is really positive for this trade to be set up. What I want to do now is just jump into the actual gold stocks and talk about how to trade them. And we've got a few things that we could do. We can either I always like to sort them either on strength or what's on moved recently. So if we wanted to sort it on what moved recently, we could just go intraday, and we would pick whatever, let's say 1 week, and that would tell us all of the stocks and how they're sorted. And just for the purposes of this example, I did it previously already, but I'm going to resort it. We'll sort it on Scooter in a minute here, because this has a lot of very low priced stocks that aren't exactly what we want to talk about for large cap investors. So what we can do is just by organizing here on this, we can put a sort order on the names in front here. Now we want to sort on the scooter ranking, and what are the top names out here. And you can see on 1 week here, some of these are moved up 9 and 10%. Pretty nice little healthy moves. But the point I want to make is look at how many of these have a very strong scooter ranking up in the high 90s. And, a lot of people are talking about Apple and tech stocks and all that. These are also doing very, very well and are a real opportunity because I like the speed they move. They can move 40% relatively quick in a couple of months. So anyway, 2 full pages of stocks with a scooter ranking above 90%, so behaving better than 90% of the market out there. I think that's a real positive and a good place for us to look heading into 2020. As I mentioned, we saw the scooter price action start to change in behavior, where it was never up in the top for a couple of years, and then over 2019 it spent most of the time up in one of the better higher areas of the scooter ranking. So all of a sudden these gold stocks are starting to behave differently on the big picture. So let's sort this chart list based on these strong scooter rankings, and the way we do that is we have to go to edit list and we have to get rid of the numbers that are on here first. So we're going to go into edit mode and we scroll down to the bottom, and then we select them all and we just say remove the numbers from all the ones that are selected, and so that's good. So now this number in front here has disappeared and we just have the ticker symbols and names. What we do from there is we go into summary mode, and the reason we have to go into summary mode is so that we have some reasons to sort. In edit mode, all of these other fields are gone. So here's SCTR ranking is the way we want to sort it. And again, this is the intraday price action, choppy, whatever. The important thing that we want to get here is just let's go look through the charts and find the nice charts that we're more interested in. And with that, what we do is we scroll all the way to the bottom. Now that we could have chosen close or percent change or whatever. We're going to choose SCTR ranking. And now we scroll to the bottom and we number in sorted order. And by doing that, that allows us to change this list and put the strong ones first. So with that, we can click in on here and then we can go look at view all, which is 10 per page. And the perspective I'd like you to get is how many of these stocks have a really strong scooter ranking and how they're starting to behave much better. So this stock is almost at 2-year highs, or this ETF. Really nice. Silver miners, again, this one's one of the strongest ones, breaking out to new highs here. What's not to like when they're just starting to break out? Junior gold miners ETF, this one's starting to thrust up. Wouldn't take much to get to even higher highs, and if it gets above this 42, we're going to go all the way back to 3-year highs, going on 4-year. It's crazy levels up there. I like the PPO turning up above 0. This is a very positive place on the charts, and with that, starting to get that big up thrust, and that's exactly what we'd like. I'm going to scroll past the rest of these ETFs and start to get into some more specific stocks. But here's Silvercorp Metals, and this one just continues to push higher. Nice high level here on the PPO. It can oscillate up here and do just fine, but I think if we're just starting our new thrust, this is going to hold us up well. I would do one thing on this chart. And what we have is something that's really outperforming the S&P 500. And so for me, I want to draw this line on this chart just as a reference and maybe even give it a little room to wobble. But I don't want it to start breaking down. And if it did start to break down, I want to take gains in this name and not let them break apart. So if we look back here, there's a really good trend line here. When it broke, it spent 6 months or whatever, 4 months consolidating and then took back off to the upside. I don't want to give up all of the gains from this whole run here. So just putting a slope on here so that we've got something to work against. But once something that was outperforming stops outperforming, I just want to move along and pick something else to own at that point in time. So here's the another ETF. Here's Leagold Mining. This one's just pushing up to new highs here. Very, very nice to see. I like the way that's working out. Wesdome Gold, this one's been gorgeous since the middle of 2018. At $2 to $10, it's been 500%. Really, really nice. Pan American Silver. This one's just breaking out to new 5-year highs. What's not to like? That one's on its way. Sibanye Gold. This has been a river higher for a while. It looks like every week it makes a new high. Really nice to watch. Actually, the only thing I was going to say on that one, let's go back there just briefly. Sorry about the scrolling. Notice how this PPO has a nice big uptrend here. If that's going to start to break, or this relative strength line is going to start to break, then I probably want to leave this stock. So I'll diagram that out with some annotations here. You have an uptrend in momentum, and it's been going on for a while. That's over a year long. When you get these big year-long uptrends, they're a good place for us to think about leaving. Even this one in here was only 6 months, but when you get these big uptrends and they start to roll over, it's a much better idea just to take profits and let somebody figure out how much farther it can go. And even in this case, if you had held this up a little bit higher up where this hump is and tried to do it a little quicker, you would have missed this final surge, but you still would have captured the majority of the move and might have moved on to something else that was surging. So I think it's important to at least know when you'd exit these winners so that you're not left holding them after they roll over. And I think on my Twitter feed, I was reading somebody who said they had lost over $1 million in the stock market last year, mostly on marijuana names. And the hard part about that is I don't know how many times I spoke about it, but the one thing in the marijuana names was Weed Wednesday was October 17th, 2018. That literally marked the high for the ETFs, and it kept dripping lower, and some of the names were still holding up, but a lot of the names were falling away. And as they were falling away, the problem is people kept putting more and more belief into the fact that they were about to turn around. And I saw somebody tweet out yesterday, Chicago's legalizing marijuana January 1. They should all start to run because it's a city of 12 million people or whatever. That isn't how the stock market thinks. There's more than enough marijuana to go around right now, with all of the operations trying to get to massive size in terms of growing and not enough market. So I think it's more important that we keep track of these trends, and then we want to sell winners near the highs, and we need to find a way to take money off the table. And it might not be at the absolute high, but we just do not want to get stuck owning something rolling over. And gold can run for a while and then fail. Well, when it fails, we just want to leave. We don't need to marry these names. We just need to own them while they're winning. And so here's Equinox Gold. This is breaking out to new 3-year highs. Just did that last week. It's holding up here around $10. There's a nice uptrend in momentum here. Let's just see if we can do this. Annotate's turned off because I have to go up here and there's something I need to do. Let me read that. First, turn off the auto size charts option right here. There we go. And now what that allows us to do is now I can go in and I can annotate this chart. And by doing that, you can see this uptrend is in play here. We also have an uptrend in momentum. And if that uptrend starts to break, this one isn't as obvious, but if these uptrends start to break, I probably want to leave here and move out of these names now. The other thing we would do is we could take off these last 2 years, because you could see there was no real trading volume even on a weekly basis, and that's why the chart's so jerky. Now it's started to move in to become a real chart and better price action, all that kind of thing. So now it looks a lot more stable. Excuse me, but again, the important thing here is to give ourselves a method to exit the stock or the ticker symbol. And when we do that, I think the biggest thing for us is to try and set it up, not so much that we get greedy, but we get the majority of the move. And one of the easiest ways to do that is when relative strength stops or momentum rolls over and starts to break big, long uptrends. This Teranga Gold is a beautiful chart. Looks like it's heading higher here. Broke through $6. It's now on its way to 7. That's a 2-week move or 3-week move. That's really nice. It's got lots of firepower in here. It's already up 4% on the week and looks good to keep going higher. Nova Gold Resources. This one just broke out to new 5-year highs and it's pausing this week. Nothing wrong with that. Again, I'd do the same thing here. Let's annotate. What we want to do is just make sure that this uptrend in relative strength stops. As long as it continues, we want to hold it. And if it doesn't continue, so back over here is another example. And it's easy in hindsight, right? We probably could have put it here and then we would have got kicked out. But the idea being, you don't want to make it too hard for you to get out, but you do want to exit near the top. In this case, we're clearly on a spike here. We've just taken off, but we don't know if that's going to continue for 10 weeks or 2. So as long as everything's working, that's pretty good. And now we also have this kind of trend over here. So want to keep track of all of these. And if they start to break down, especially as a group, if they all start to break down, then it's a nice time to say, you know what, the move in gold is over. Let's go find something else to own. Another ETF. Here's Silvercrest Minerals. This one's just been grinding higher for so long. What a nice move up to $10 here. First Majestic Silver Corp. This one's just starting to break out to new 3-year highs on this week. That's very, very bullish. Everything turning up. Scooter ranking nice and high. Again, make sure the relative outperformance continues, but it looks very good. Here's Coeur d'Alene Mines, and what do we see on this chart? Again, a nice uptrend here starting in May at $2.78 to $8. These are huge moves. And the important thing to keep in mind here is this could run for a long time, right? In 2016, this took off quite a ways. It's getting going here, but if we started to lose our relative strength outperformance, then we would just leave the stock. And again, simple trend lines under it can help us manage the trade to try and capture maximum revenues. Here is another stock breaking out to new 5-year highs. It doesn't usually break out to new 5-year highs and roll back over. Now this one might do that, but again, it looks to me like we're just getting started in this move, and a lot of these stocks are making new highs. So as they start to do that, that's very bullish. Here's Yamana Gold, and this is just starting to break out here. This is really nice. So I like the look of that one. Pan American Silver, look at how strong this is. Just popping to new 5-year highs. Very comfortable. Detour Gold, I think, if I'm not mistaken, Detour was getting bought out by Barrick Gold. So this one might just kind of grind sideways in here. We'll leave that one. Here's gold mining. And what we see on gold mining, this one is starting to make higher highs and higher lows. It's only $1 stock, but I like the PPO turning up around 0. That looks very good to me. Shiny. Aura Minerals. This one, thinly traded, right? So I don't really want to talk about it. Stocks at 3,500 shares per week, so just a little too thin for me. Rubicon Minerals, this one's only 200,000 shares a week, but not really a trend we want to invest in. And if it was to take off now, I think I'd let somebody else own it. We could zoom in on the chart and shorten it up, but it's still just a gentle downtrend, and I think there's other names that are more obvious here. So Alicer Corp, this one's just heading higher and higher, higher highs, higher lows, and as gold continues to outperform, what's not to like? I think that, this chart's generally setting up for nice price action. I want to denote one thing here. So what we see on this chart, the relative strength is heading up nice and high. Nothing wrong with it, and we just want to see that continue. Notice how the PPO is sideways. So it's continuing to hold up here, but it's way up at 10%. Some of these charts will be down around 1 or 2% in terms of momentum. This has a 10% read. So until it starts to get below 5, I think we can assume that the stock is still strong enough. The clue for me to leave would be this relative strength line breaking on something that's working this well. So something that was outperforming, stopping outperforming. I just want to move along and let somebody else own the stock. Okay, Nova Gold Resources. I think the critical thing here is, again, new 5-year highs, and we're seeing this across numerous names. It doesn't seem to me that's where you'd end the story. Normally what happens is we have a lot of stocks fail to participate, a few still break out. That's not what we're getting right now. We're getting across the board pushes up into this new high space. Continental Gold, this one's dribbled sideways for 4 weeks. I don't know if there's a buyout here or not. But, trying to get through previous prior highs, very close to 5 years. Osisko Mining, this one's just breaking out, very bullish. Today it was up and pulled back a little bit. Again, they're not all going to go up every day. Even this one had a 4-day pullback here in December. But what a big move. And again, which side of the trade do you want to be on here? I wouldn't be shorting this stock just because it has a down day today or a reversal bar today. If it consolidates up here before pushing on to higher highs, that's kind of a normal thing in the process. Another ETF, again, this Silver Trust, all of these are turning up. Look at the PPO turning up above zero. Very, very bullish. Gold Resource Corp, new 52-week highs. Nice uptrend in relative strength and in the momentum. Scooter ranking up around 90, and as long as these continue, draw a trend line under price, draw a trend line under the relative strength, trend line under the momentum, and if they stop performing, then we want to move along. Okay, just go through a few more names here. Here's Torex Gold. Choppy a little bit here. It's been consolidating sideways for 8 weeks. I'm surprised it didn't get more of a jump on the recent gold spike. Fortuna Silver, this one's really starting to pop. Again, this chart had been in a big downtrend, but the difference we see now is the PPO was above zero, pulled back, and is now resuming its move above zero. Should it fail right here, you just want to exit this trade because we've got this big overhead line. Let's just draw that in. Got this big overhead line sitting in here, and if the stock can't break through it, I'm looking for a high close. This is kind of the highest close going back on the trend line. So I think that's probably a better place to park it. But the right answer is on all of these, if the stock is going to break through this resistance area and keep going, PPO moving back above zero, that's a very bullish place on the chart. And, it's starting to make higher highs and higher lows. So what we want to see now, obviously, we had a higher high, a higher low. We'd like to see another higher high, and this would really start to thrust the stock up. Momentum is now above zero. Okay, hopefully that's given you some ideas of different ways to analyze these names. Here's Caledonia Mining trying to get through to new 3-year highs. PPO momentum line looks good. Scooter, or the full stochastic. I don't usually use trends on full stochastics, right? This is trending up, but look at it just chop in here. What we really want to see is relative strength compared to the S&P 500. So far, everything on this chart is okay, and if it all started to turn down here, then I would leave the trade, but it looks good so far. First Majestic Silver, this one's breaking out to new 3-year highs. And again, I own some of these names. I don't want to tell you which names I own, but the point is not so much that whether or not I own them, and usually what I'll do in this case is I'll go in and buy a basket of 5 or 10 of them, knowing some will outperform the others, and the ones that stop outperforming, I'll just move along and pick some new ones. But I feel like the move is just getting started. The US dollar is just starting to break down, so all of these things add up to me to kind of suggest staying on board and not trying to outthink it. So hopefully with that, I've given you an idea. I mean, we're still only at the, Scooter rankings of 95. There's another 3 or 4 pages here. So maybe I'll just go back and show you the actual summary list of these gold stocks. But, these are really, really strong names, and they continue to outperform. So hopefully you can add them into your portfolio and find some things to work on. For my subscribers in 2020, I'll be doing a lot more work to help set up portfolios and show them how I manage trades, both for dividend and for growth, commodity type investing, all of that kind of thing. If you'd like to know any more about that, you can find it over at gregschnell.com. To wrap up, in 2020, I think we're going to have a much more challenging year. There's starting to be some signals in the bond market that aren't signals I like to see. Doesn't mean it's imminent, but it means it's something that we should focus on. Thanks everybody for listening.